Well, caring for a loved one with cancer or Alzheimer's or other dementia is hard enough during normal times. It is significantly complicated during COVID-19. My guests will share their stories of care, plus ways they found that might give you some peace in your caregiving journey. And that's what's next. Welcome to What's Next, everyone. My guests today are Lori LeBay of Alzheimer Speaks and Carla Beaurline of Around Town TV. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Carla, we're going to start with you first. You are posting regularly on Facebook and on Caring Bridge, the health journey of both of your parents. So hashtag Courageous Carl and hashtag Sandy Strong. Please share with us what you've been through recently.
Yes, so this is definitely a new experience with two terminally ill parents. Mom has metastatic bone cancer and dad has metastatic lung, lymph node, and brain cancer. Both are seeking treatment. Both together see the same oncologist, so that makes it a little easier. We already were taking the necessary steps because their immune systems are compromised, but I'm finding a disconnect in communication. For example, mom had an infection last weekend, and normally what would be a phone call and a prescription sent in ended up being an 8-hour ordeal. Last Friday, because caregivers are no longer allowed to be with their loved ones through a journey like this, and because dad could literally push mom in her wheelchair, they went to chemo alone. I dropped them off and picked them up. And the little things, their schedule for the next couple months is extremely complicated. There were a couple errors. I noticed one of the tests, it's her most important one, her tumor marker. I thought maybe they forgot. Well, they just forgot to post it. And that's what drives our next steps, if you will. So there's a lot of those little things that are taking extra energy and extra steps that literally that would have been done while I was there.
Lori, you're hearing all kinds of things from your followers, and I wonder if any of their stories are also similar to what Carla is sharing.
Well, for people who have a loved one at home with them, they are kind of getting extensive cabin fever because they're feeling really shut in. Maybe someone was going to adult day maybe they can't go to their support groups anymore. And so that's a really difficult issue. So I'm encouraging people to connect through technology. A lot of memory cafes are going virtual now. Many people are connecting to their grandkids, friends, even high school mates through virtual technology like this. And they're really seeing their world expand instead of shrink. Through this, they're also making comments that the people with younger onset are saying, and I find this just fascinating. Oh, people are now going to know what it's like to be diagnosed with a chronic illness. They said, we've learned to use technology. Our world got really small, and we have learned to connect and utilize these things. And we don't go out as much because we can't stand all of the overstimulation and things like that. So they've really adapted, and they really feel that there are things that they can teach the rest of us. For those that have loved ones in a community, as we're seeing on the news, they're very distraught. They don't know if their person is going to die, get ill and die, and they're not going to be able to see them, or maybe they're going to get sick. Or maybe by the time they're able to get back together, their loved one's not going to know them anymore. And so these are really deep-seated worries, and rightfully so. But I think I'm the kind of person that says you gotta address your feelings. Don't stuff them. Know that they're real. Know that you're not alone. Connect with others. Through different chat groups. Like Facebook is something pretty easy to use. There are a lot of subgroups where you can talk with others that are working through this, and they have great ideas. Or go to a virtual memory cafe. There's just a ton of resources out there for people.
And you provide virtual memory cafes.
Yeah, we took our Arthur's Memory Cafe, and we are doing that at the second and the fourth Wednesday of every month, and people are more than welcome to join. But you can also go to Memory Cafe directory. Dave has put a list of all the memory cafes in the US, and he's starting to do it for other countries as well. And they are noting which ones are virtual. And just because you didn't belong to our memory cafe, you're still welcome to come. You know, we want to be able to support everybody anywhere. You know, it's none of us own any of these things. It's really about helping one another out and lifting them up.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I noticed with Carla is that when you're posting these things on Facebook and also on the Caring Bridge site, you do get a lot of support from people. And then the opposite part of that is your parents then reach out online to the messages that are being left in support of them. Why don't you describe that a little bit?
That is very important and has been to their journey. Mom has been on the journey for almost 28 years, metastatic bone consistently for over 11, seeking with treatment that entire time. And she loves the prayers. She loves the comments. It uplifts her. So does Dad. But specifically Mom, it allows her to, and they both do, they'll both communicate, but what they find is so uplifting is not only the prayers, but people will say, like, for example, we couldn't find Tylenol anywhere. Some people said, you know what, I have a bottle that's not been opened. I will Clorox bleach it. I will put it in a plastic bag and leave it on your front steps. Things that we need, people are taking those extra steps and offering to help. And in ways that as a caregiver, me needing help, I haven't been able to receive that before. And sometimes there's things I have to be very careful of too, because of the situation we're in right now, to make sure I'm not bringing germs into the home.
What do you do then that's special where you're not bringing things in? I mean, are you coming in, taking a shower, changing your clothes to make sure that Mom and Dad don't get exposed to whatever you might have been exposed to?
There are several things. Number one, I'm wearing plastic gloves. The surgical gloves when I go out, whether it's grocery shopping or even taking them to the doctor, where I even have to just drop her off. When I had to go over to urgent care a week ago, Saturday, to pick something up and then bring it back, when we thought Mom had an infection, I had a mask on, I had gloves on. I wear different clothes. I'll change. Sometimes I'll even change in the garage and put them right in the laundry room. I don't bring the gloves in my car. I take those off. And sometimes if there isn't a wastebasket, yes, I am one of those people who will leave them on the ground right now at the grocery store, because if I bring the disease into the car and home, it's the car I transport them in, I'm only making it more critical for them. They both have said, if we get this disease, we will not survive, because it's not only cancer for them. Dad has diabetes. They both, he's had open heart surgery. Mom has had respiratory issues because of her cancer, double pneumonia. So it's very important I take those extra steps. And I have like my little grocery outfit that I only wear, and then I can take it off in the garage so I can wash it.
Now, my girlfriend is a doctor, and so even last night when we were texting, she said one of the things that she's working on is she's on the ethics committee. So she will be one of a team group that will be having to make decisions on who is put on a respirator and potentially who is not put on a respirator. Is that a conversation that you've had with your parents? And if so, how do they feel about that?
It is a conversation. We've already had the end of life conversations, and while they're okay with end of life, that's something that we never thought we'd have to go to that point. So what I'm trying to do, and everything I'm doing right now, even from the way I bring groceries into the house and taking all the necessary precautions, is to prevent them having to go to the hospital. Basically trying to make sure they don't get this, because if they did, they know that may be something that could happen to them. We're ready for everything. We've prepared for that. But so now what I'm trying to do is hopefully never have that be a decision that anybody, one of the three of us, will ever have to make, just for those extra little steps. I even don't bring groceries into my house right away that don't need to come in. I leave them outside. I wash down the frozen ones before I put them in the freezer, because the hot foods are the ones that, once you put those in the microwave, supposedly kill the virus. Either way, I'm that person, that meme you see on social media right now. I wash down the Clorox bottle. I wash down the Lysol bottle. I'm taking every necessary step to do that.
Mm-hmm. Laura, one of the things that has just come out in the news is that the Minnesota Health Commissioner, Jan Malcolm, said that she was asked by somebody in the community if families should remove relatives from long-term care facilities, because as we know, that seems to be attacking those communities in a ferocious way. And ultimately, she said that's a private family decision. But I'm sure that's a lot of people are considering that right now.
Yeah, and what I would urge them to remember is why they placed somebody there in the first place. Usually that decision doesn't come lightly, and it's usually a matter of crisis time. And you don't want to pull them out and bring them home, and then all of a sudden you're in immediate crisis in your own house. Then what do? You could be possibly exposed as well, because we don't have enough tests for everybody. I really encourage people, and I've been working with many of the senior communities as well, to really work at communicating with families. And, you know, they're overloaded right now, which everybody understands, and we have to appreciate that. So how can we help lift them up? And people go, well, how can I help? You know, making a phone call or sending a video saying thank you for your work can lift staff up and help lift morale up. Maybe having packages delivered that are activity oriented. There are places like Maria's Place has some great activities that people can actually do if they've got people at home, just to even keep themselves busy, so that they're not preoccupied. Or Best Alzheimer's Products has lots of activities, from puzzles and sensory and aromatherapy they could send to their loved one there for staff to maybe be able to set up. Working with technology to still communicate, because sometimes it's just seeing the person. You know, people are saying how powerful it is when they just get a picture of their loved one with a sign that they're holding, saying, one woman shared a sign and it said, "Hi, honey, I love you, Sue." You know, and he had a big smile in his face and a glint in his eye. And she's like, that's all I needed. I just needed to know. We have a lot of HIPAA rules right now where people are paranoid about posting pictures. We've got to change that. We need families' authorizations to post all of the good things that are happening in these communities. They are working very hard and they're getting really creative. And so if you've got creative ideas, share those. But I think again, we have to be cautious and not reactive in terms of our decision making. And, you know, what is the reality of pulling somebody out of a place that you thought was necessary? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a tough thing, and there's no guarantees that we at home aren't going to get this disease, and they are working extremely hard. Some of the things we can do as families is really push for changes so that these communities get more protective gear, maybe get some more help pulled in. And, you know, I think there's other ways that we can look at to work around that versus just a straight panic attack. These communities are also, you know, still taking admissions. And I think that is something seriously that the state needs to look at, is for new admissions, maybe putting them someplace else where they are tested, they can be monitored, so that we know when they enter a home, they are safe and they're not infected. So I think there's a lot of things that we can still do. And every day, I mean, we're hearing of adjustments to this plan. So people need to speak out.
Well, thank you all for joining me. I really, really appreciate that. This is a conversation that needs to continue. So hopefully we'll be able to get back together a little bit down the road, just to kind of get an update on where we all stand with that. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Again, you can reach Carla on around-town.tv. You can watch her on Facebook live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. as well as MCN6. And then, of course, you can catch Lori on alzheimerspeaks.com. Thank you.